Good evening. I'm Socrates Garrett, and we're broadcasting live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi, the heart of the Deep South, right here in the African-American-owned broadcasting studio. WeBelieveDigital.com, our own platform. And so it's critically important that in the African-American community, we control the narrative. I look forward to receiving opportunities to show and advertise your products for goods and services and to move your brand along in this community. We're broadcasting live on Facebook on We Believe Digital. And welcome to Socrates Garrett Live. We're broadcasting live right here in Jackson, Mississippi, in the heart of the Deep South. Mississippi, my hometown. I call it a town because we have less than 3 million people in this great state. Less than 3 million people. Last time I was in Chicago, there were 6 million people. I couldn't go anywhere without bumping into somebody or being afraid that I was going to get too close to this person or that person. I can drive for days and for hours in Mississippi and not see a single soul. We have a beautiful state. The weather is great. There's great fishing in Mississippi. On the reservoir in Jackson is where I like to go and trying to catch some white perch out there with my buddies Lance Lewis and Roland Garrett and Scott Reed and Larry, and we have a great time out there on the reservoir. Mississippi provides us with a great climate. You know, it's a little hotter now than it normally is. Normally we have great weather in the 90s, upper 80s, but recently we've been experiencing some hotter temperatures. We got up to 107. I think that was the heat index, not the actual temperature, but it could have been the actual temperature because it got really hot. So I know that climate change is not a real hoax. It's something really going on in the world. Now, you know, you're watching this show coming to you from the We Believe Digital Studios. We are a streaming service. We'd love to have you in the studios doing your own shows, streaming all over the world in over 139 countries. My friends in Vietnamese and Vietnam and my friends in China and Alaska are enjoying this show, as well as my friends next door here in Hinds County in Jackson, Mississippi. We'd love for you to use this streaming service for your podcast shows and advertising your products and for goods and services. We need to hear from you. You can always call us at 800-492-5186. That's 800-492-5186. Now, I'm going to be coming to you very frequently. I think I'd like to do a show every day in the afternoons so that I can get my message across and out. You know, when you've lived as long as I have, you have a lot to say, and there are a lot of things that people want to hear. So we're going to do a better job of getting that message out. But we want you to utilize the studio. We have the internet radio station here, We Believe Radio. It's running live on Live 365. You go to live365.com and search for We Believe Radio, and you'll listen to some of the best music in the world playing right here out of the same studio. Sometimes our podcast shows will be downloaded and run on the radio station. It may only be seen once a week here on the podcast studio, but it could be running daily over on the internet radio station. So you see, we are a media, I want to call us a conglomerate, but we're not large enough to be called that. But we are a media company. In this building, there's also the Mississippi Link newspaper, the publisher Jackie Hampton. Over 30 years of continuous publishing of a newspaper every week, come rain, snow, doesn't matter. Back in the old days, they said the mail must get out. In these days, the link must get out. So we enjoy that. Subscribe to the MississippiLink.com and enjoy the stories there that are archiving and chronicling all of our history. So we are a media company. Now, we also like to advertise your products for goods and services. So if you have a product that you're trying to get in the marketplace, this is the right place to come. You have brilliant ideas, but no one knows about it. You have excellent concepts, but no one has heard of it. We intend to fix that. It's very, 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 very affordable. And sometimes we have scholarships for those that really have an excellent idea of product or something that they want to get out, but they don't have a budget for it. We are very accommodating. We can help you in many ways. So we want you to utilize this studio, utilize the radio station. If you're running for elected office, like right now, we have 3 outstanding young ladies that are running for the senator's seat that was vacated by Senator Horn, who became the newly elected mayor of the city of Jackson. So it looks like we will have an African-American female in that position in the near future. But those 3 candidates need to come in this studio. They need to be heard. They need to be seen. They need to get their message out. We are an excellent, excellent platform to do that. Now, we're streaming live all over the world, as I said, but we're also streaming to YouTube, to Facebook, and Instagram currently. In the future, we'll be streaming to TikTok. So we understand that there are opportunities there associated with that platform. We got a lot to offer over here. We have an entertainment venue. You know, we have the track down on McDowell Road that we created for our young folks to enjoy their four-wheelers and to do all of the things there, to have their music and to have their stage down there and their four-wheelers and their horses. Even though horses and four-wheelers don't get along very well. So we're working through that. We had over 1,500 young men and women in the parking lot here about 3 months ago, just on a Sunday afternoon, where young DJs came in and they leased the space, rented the space for that event, put up their stage and their lighting and their soundboards, and had a wonderful time. So we intend to be in the entertainment and in the media business for a long, long time. Now, we're getting ready to go to a station break. You stay tuned. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about some things that are heavy on my heart. I lost my oldest sister, and we're going to talk about that when we come back. Stay tuned.
Advertise on WeBelieve.global, a brand new digital media platform. Share your brand with our audience on our many global live stream TV broadcasts and over the radio. For more info, visit WeBelieve.global or call 800-492-5186, option 1.
Very short break. I hope you enjoyed the commercial. I hope you will support our sponsors and those that advertise with us. And we hope that you will continue to support this platform. I'm getting a call right now from my good friend Isaac Haynes down in Prentiss, Mississippi. Fort Knox is what we called him back at the day at Alcorn State University, when he and I both pledged Kappa and became a member of that great fraternity. Kappa Alpha Psi till I die. That's the way we roll. So Isaac, I can't take your call at the moment, but we're going to allow you to call into the studio here very shortly at 800-492-5186. You know, that call reminds me of the fun times that we had down at Alcorn. You know, Alcorn provided an environment where you had to learn to get along with your fellow brother or sister. We just didn't have a lot of activities, so we had to learn how to enjoy one another. We had no dollhouse like they did at Jackson State back in the day, where you could go and drink beer all day. We didn't have any place you could go and drink beer. You know, the closest beer to Alcorn would have been Port Gibson, and you can't walk to Port Gibson from Alcorn. And very few students had automobiles back at that time. So we were basically there. We played a lot of cards. We studied. We played games, and we talked about what the future would be. Great institution. I highly recommend Alcorn State University to those that are looking for a sanctuary. One has to be going to Alcorn to get there. You just can't happen to be there. You can't drive down the street and say, oh, there it is. No, you can't do that. You have to be intentional about going down there. But as I said before we went to break, I want to talk about I lost my eldest sister, Ethel Odessa Garrett. She was 85 years old. She was born in Farm Haven, Mississippi. She was the second child in a family of 10. My mother and father had 8 siblings. I've lost 3 of those now, and we're down to 5. But Ethel, being the oldest girl back in the day, had tremendous responsibilities. She had the responsibility to clean their house and prepare those meals and manage those children as my mother went off to study, and she was a teacher, and she had all of her classwork to get done. She also ran a farm, and so she needed someone that was anchoring that house. And my oldest sister, Ethel, did that. She ruled with an iron hand, but love and compassion. When she told you to do something, she meant that you need to be doing that. She worked harder than any person that I've ever seen. At 10 years old, she was cooking breakfast for the entire family. And we go back to those times when you had wood stoves, and you go back. You see, I remember when we got our first TV in the community, and everybody came to the house to look at it. I think we were the 3rd family to get a TV in the community. I remember all those party lines when you picked up the phone. Everybody in the community was on the call. But Ethel managed that house, and she managed her siblings. She managed her older brother. She ran things, and we loved her harder than you could love anybody. She was my second mother. So she would go to the fields, and she would get up early in the morning and cook breakfast for the whole family. Then she would join the rest of us in the field where we were there either chopping cotton or picking cotton or doing something or working in the garden. She would join us there. And then, back then, nobody had no watch, so you had to know what time it was. And of course, your stomach would tell you what time it was getting close to. But they would look at the position of the sun, and they could tell you exactly what time it was. They could tell you it's 11:15, and it would be 11:15. It wouldn't be 11:20. It would be 11:15. And then if that wasn't good enough, then the Trailways bus would run down Highway 16 from Canton to Carthage. And that bus would come by that spot, our house, at the same time every day. You see, punctuality was a thing that meant something back in the day. Someone says that if you get there on time, you're already late. And so we relied on that bus in the sun to tell Ethel when it was time to leave the field and go home and start cooking a meal for the rest of the family that was still working in the field. At 12 o'clock, we would leave the field, go to the house, and dinner, or back at that time, we called it dinner. Dinner was at 12 o'clock. It wasn't at 6 o'clock. Dinner was at 12 o'clock, and we would have cornbread and black-eyed peas and yams and collard greens and butter beans, and everything would be on the table and a plenty of it. And so she would have that meal prepared and on the table. Now, it was so many of us until we had benches that ran along the table, so everybody sat on the bench, and we all ate together, and we laughed. and we talked, and we carried on with one another. We enjoyed each other. And Ethel would tell us when it's time for break was over and lunch was over, and she would be the very first one that took us back to the field to work to the rest of the day. And we would work all day long. We'd work, and Mother would come after school, and she would change into her work clothes, and she would come and get in the field, and we would work there until dark. Sometimes we had something called a lightning bug. Now, many kids today have never seen one, don't know what I'm talking about. But they actually did light up. And so we said many times, we're out here in the dark picking cotton by lightning bugs so we can see where we're going. And my sister Ethel ran all of that. She ran this family. When I graduated from Alcorn State University and went to California, I went to live with Ethel Odessa. She took me in there, and she made absolutely certain that I got off to a good start and got my first job at the Pacific Gas Company down in downtown L.A. Ethel graduated from Tuskegee University, and she married a tall, handsome young man, Ted Hawthorne, and they came by the house, and she then moved on to California to start her career. And I joined her out there to start my career. I'm terribly indebted to her for her standards that she set, the way she carried herself, the way she thought about things. She had no fear in her. She would travel all over the world. She did everything that she wanted to do. And yes, 85 is young, very, very young. To lose someone that you care that much about, that's a very, very difficult time. But transition is something that we all must do. I thought that, the pain of losing my mother was one of the greatest pains that I ever had in life. It was so bad until, people would always say in the church that we will see her again. We will see her again. And I was sitting there at the graveside, and they lowered my mother down in the grave, in the vault, and they began to throw dirt on the casket. And I said, hold up a minute. Hold up, hold up, hold up, hold up. I said, I am going to see her again. So I want you to bring that casket back up out of the ground. And when you bring it back up, I want you to open it again. Because I'm going to see my mother again. And everybody looked at me like I was crazy and I might be a bit off. But when they opened it up, then my siblings were able to put jewelry, rings, things that they hadn't thought about. They put in the casket because it was open again. Now, I'm going to try not to do that with Ethel. Ethel is my second mother. I'm going to try not to do that, but it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. So we're going to have her funeral in Lou Doris Parrott, one of my sister's classmates, I guess the class of 57. I want you to know that if you're watching this show, that I enjoyed our conversation 3 days ago, and we talked about Ethel, and we talked about, the fun and how you always did things together. We talked about, the joy that you had, even though being poor, but we didn't know we were poor because there was so much laughter and so much love. Until, Lou Doris, I hope you're seeing this, and if not, I'm going to call you to let you know the arrangements for Ethel. She will be. She will have a funeral eulogized in Sacramento, California, I think on the 14th of September, and then she will fly home. You know, it's something here now. Most people, they bury you wherever you're living. Sometimes they just take your ashes and throw it out on the ground. Some they put it in an urn and keep it on the mantelpiece. But close-knit families come home. And they come home for many reasons. One is that if I want to know my history, if I really want to know the genealogy, if I really want to know where I come from, the best place in the world for me to find that is in the cemetery, in the graveyard. I can take this family all the way back to 1700s in the graveyard. And Ethel will be in her rightful place in that permanent record, in history, in this graveyard, in the Eugene Garrett Memorial Cemetery for the remainder of time, in line with her mother and her father and her sister, not her sister, and her two brothers that preceded her in death. So Ethel and Stephanie and Ted and Adrian and the grandchildren, I'll see you next week. I'll certainly see you around the 13th of September. And I know how hard it is for you right now, and it's hard on all of us. So y'all stay strong. We're going to take a station break, and after this commercial, we're going to come back for the final section of this evening's program. Stay tuned.
The Mississippi Link is an African-American female-owned newspaper with a trusted voice that is highly respected throughout the city, state, and nation. Our motto, keepers of the knowledge for people who speak the truth, since 1993. Link significantly influences the thoughts, attitudes, and buying decisions of its readers. Call us at 601-368-8481 for your advertising needs. If you would like to receive a newspaper in the mail each week, our annual subscription is only $52 per year. That is only $1 per week for you to stay informed regarding many stories that you can only get in the Mississippi Link. Sign up today at themississippilink.com and click on Home Delivery.
Hey, have you heard about the Accountable Card? It's more than a card. It's a complete mobile banking service that's accountable to all of us. You'll get a no-credit check debit card good anywhere Visa is accepted to make purchases, deposits, even get or transfer cash with an FDIC-insured bank account managed from our smartphone app. There's even a pre-approved no-interest line of credit if you need emergency cash. So why go to the bank when you can have ours in your pocket? Get accountable. Just download our app today.
This is going to be a very brief segment. My heart is heavy. The discussion that I was having just a moment ago before we went to commercial break leaves me in a state that requires that this be a short segment. My sister Ethel came home about a year ago, and I had an opportunity then to take a look at the effect of dementia and how it robs one's memory and one's ability to speak. So I got a chance to just stay real close to her, to just joy having her in my home. Not only in my home, but in whatever the finest thing that you possess. I had to make that available to her. She didn't move a step. Her daughter Stephanie wouldn't let her go anywhere by herself, but I was right there too. And I spent every moment that I could with her. You see, I knew that it was very likely that she would never come home again. You know, I don't know much about dementia and things like that, but it's a terrible disease. If you look at your loved ones and they don't recognize you, then that's something to deal with. And to watch one that was razor sharp be robbed of that talent and that ability to just say, I love you. And I know that she knew that she was very much loved. So we're going to go out there and we're going to do what my mother taught us how to do, and that's how to treat our loved ones when they pass away. Everything will be decent and in order. There won't be a lot of fainting and shouting and hollering. There won't have any of that. It won't be 4 hours. We won't take that long. But it will be an event that marks the celebration and conclusion of a life well lived. Celebrating a life well lived. I'm sure that the Sacramento family, where she spent most of her life, will have a lot to say. But you can bet that I'm going to have something to say too, both in California and in Mississippi. And so this ends a chapter. This closes the book on a person that has meant so much, has done so much for her siblings and her family. The matriarch, the second mom. I'm going to close out by just saying, we'll see you soon. Love you much. And for the rest of our Facebook family, this has been Socrates Garrett Live. We'll be coming back with you very, very shortly. Stay tuned, stay safe, and good night.